Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna get set up here.
Morning, Lindsay.
Hi.
I'm just sending you a comment from your post yesterday. Glad you're out of the hospital.
Yeah. Thank you. And then last week I had COVID, so it's like one thing after another.
Well, we'll just claim that you're done with all that and just healthy the rest of the way.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, that's why we canceled last week. I had COVID
Oh,
really badly.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I'm just like starting to feel a little bit better from that, but I was in the hospital yesterday. I went to an OB appointment and they were concerned, so I had to be admitted for some IV and different medication.
Oh, I bet you were thrilled with that, not.
At
Okay,
least
now what web page, what Facebook page are we getting these? I don't know if I have it.
they posted last week in the Manatech North America group, and so did I, that it was canceled last week.
Oh, but do we have another page, one that you're like Martha referring to that she read?
Just on my personal Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah, I posted yesterday. I was in the hospital.
We never did get our social page going.
Okay. We're live on Facebook. Okay, there we are. We're live in the group. Apologize, I still have a cough from COVID. Okay. So today we are going to be talking about World Health Day. So do we all know that on April 6th next week, there will be an event led by Dr. Nugent? I think that information's gone out.
Yes, we've heard.
Okay, awesome. So today we're going to be talking about like how do we get people to it? Why should we be utilizing this for social media? You know, how do I interact with people during the event, things like that. How do I make a big deal about this and use this to the best of my ability? So things like this, we talked about 2 weeks ago, how to utilize holidays and events in our marketing and why that can be really effective. We looked at some different things like statistics about people are more likely to engage with content that feels relevant to them, that is exciting to them, and holidays or events or like national or international or global days can really help foster a lot of this and that increased engagement. And so next, even though our event is on the 6th, World Health Day is actually on April 7th. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're talking about it on social. They decided to have it the day before so that we can bring a lot of awareness to it prior to the actual day there. So next Wednesday from 6 to 7:30 CST, Dr. Nugent will be talking about some different topics surrounding health, things that we need to be thinking about globally, within our community, within our family, and us as individuals. And then, of course, where does Manatech fit in and all that? I'm just going to go ahead and mute everyone. We're a little loud on some people. Awesome. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. So again, there's 3 different areas that we can look at this. And the reason why I like World Health Day as a focus for us on social media is, of course, it aligns exactly with what Manatech is all about. And we know that people are now more and more interested in the health and wellness industry. I have seen, so I've worked with companies across the direct sales industry for the past decade. I've spoken at so many different events. And so I have a lot of direct sellers actually on my personal Facebook page. And quite a few of them are top leaders in the organizations that I have worked with and spoken for, etc. And what's been really interesting, and I shared this as well with some of the corporate team, is that I'm seeing a lot of top leaders within the direct sales industry at other companies leaving their product niche for the health and wellness industry. Like people who have been the top of their company for years are starting all over to rebuild at new companies in health and wellness. And the question is, why is that? Why are people moving? So I've actually been talking to a few of these people, gaining some of their insights, and they said they just feel like over the last 2 years, products like makeup or home decor or things like that, which excited them before, just don't feel as important to them now because their health and wellness is such a major priority. And they've seen a huge shift in what is important to them and their family over the last 2 years. So we can't deny that there's this huge shift going on, not only with our consumers, in the industry as well, which puts Manatech at an amazing position for this. Right. And so some of the questions that I also asked them was, well, what made you choose the company that you moved to? Right. Because it was essentially me asking, why not Manatech? And so it's our job to make sure that we get the word about Manatech out there, because there are people that are looking for health and wellness on the consumer end, but there are a lot of people that are business minded who have built successful 7-figure businesses that are wanting to make the shift into the health and wellness industry because they know how important it is. It aligns with their values. It's something that they feel that is easier to talk about with people, and it's becoming much more of a priority. And so every year there's World Health Day, and every year they do take a specific focus on it. But we can look at it in 3 different ways, right? We can look at it on the community level, which Dr. Nugent's going to be talking about all these different topics. And these are important because people are going to feel connected to different things here, right? And I'm going to show you how to talk about that on social media and how to kind of find out from your leads where their biggest interest lies. But we're going to be talking about world health trends, community awareness, also our planet's health, right? So World Health Day this year, one of their main focuses is the fact like what we're doing to our planet, right? And how that's affecting health. There's a statistic I'll have to look up, but it was on the World Health Organization's World Health Day's website. And if you go look at that, and it was an alarming percentage of people who get certain diseases could be preventable if we didn't destroy our planet the way that we do. So there's a lot of like really interesting facts on there. And I'm going to show you the webpage in just a moment. I took a screenshot of it because it's a really great place to go to just pull some of those statistics and facts. But we can think about health on a community level, right? So even right now, I just had COVID as an example, and that affected each of these different levels. So within the community, one, I had to isolate myself from the community. But also being pregnant, there's certain things that are now more important to me in protecting the community, having a safe and healthy community, wanting my community to understand like what health and wellness means, to keep each other safe, etc. So there's all these things that are happening in a community and global level. And then we can look at health within our family. So we are going to be talking about with Dr. Nugent, things like immunity, disease, things like that. So what is happening in our family, especially as somebody who's like the head of a family, you want your kids, your grandkids to adopt health and wellness. It's so much more important, right? And so we talk about it at that level. Some people, because these are all going to be emotional triggers that we touch on, right? When we're on social media and when we're also talking to our leads, is what is going to emotionally trigger them into action. Now, 2 weeks ago, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, we talked about this. And I want to put this distinction here for everyone today. As a reminder, we talked about the difference between persuasion and manipulation. And I talked about when I was doing my degree, I actually had a class that was just called persuasion, and we talked about the essence of it, the logistics behind it, the formulas behind it. And a major topic of conversation was always the difference between, am I manipulating somebody versus the difference between persuading them. Manipulating somebody is trying to convince somebody, for example, within like buying, to buy something that they don't need, or to convince them to buy something that actually won't work. Persuasion, on the other hand, is convincing or helping to convince somebody to purchase something that we know will work, that we know has value, right? And I think a lot of us, we struggle with those two feelings when we are trying to step into, put our sales hat on and step into a sales position. We feel like, I don't want to be pushy. I don't know how to necessarily go about this, but it's remembering that distinction, right? And so when I say things like, we need to create an emotional trigger that puts our lead into action, I'm not saying we need to manipulate them with emotions. It's, we need to talk about things that are important to them. That is going to trigger a response that says, yes, I need to move with this action. Whether that's, yes, I want to show up to this event. Yes, I want to learn more about Manatech. Yes, I want to purchase the products. But we always have to come from this emotional place, because people make decisions based on their emotion. That's why when we just lead with facts, we just lead with especially abstract facts, with just like information. It seems kind of more like a bulletin board type of post. It's not going to trigger any sort of feeling. And we know that feeling is what is going to make somebody make a decision. And so when we're looking at this and how can I talk about this on social media? And of course, we're coming from the angle of World Health Day, but this can be used anytime we're talking about wellness or anything online, is how can I create an emotional response from my followers, from my leads, from my customers in what I'm posting. And these are three different ways. The community level, people are going to be really community minded. That's why, talking about M5M is always such an important part of the strategy, because people want to help their community. They want to give back. They want to be an active participant in loving their neighbors in the world, right? And then the family level. How many times do we put our family's needs before our own? That one is a huge emotional trigger. And then also with ourselves, whether we talk about things like gut health, our own stress, our own state of well-being, physical, mental, emotional, etc. These are all three different major areas that we can focus on and bring into the conversation. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. And how can I kind of identify where my customers, my leads, people that follow me on social media, where are they at in this? What is most important to them? Because at the end of the day, our job is to cater to the person that we are experiencing with. So we've used a bunch of times now the example, and I still love it, of when we talked about a few weeks ago, we are the server, right? Or like the waiter or the waitress in the business, in the restaurant. We're not the cook. We're not the chef in the back. Dr. Nugent, he's our head chef, right? Our job isn't to learn how to make every single meal that's available on the menu. It's to be the customer service minded person. And yes, there may be a meal or an item or a dish on the menu that you love, and that you're going to say that to the person, at the table that you're taking the order from. But still, your job at the end of the day is to what? To give them what they want, to ask them what interests you. Here's my favorite, here's the special, but what are you thinking today? What is it that you want? So many times when we are showing up and we're creating content and we're having conversations, it always comes from our own perspective. We have to open up conversations with more questions. What is important to you? Which one of these areas is a biggest concern for you and your family today in 2022 and 2023, right? Because we're going to be in that year before we know it. And so it's making sure that how can I create conversations where I'm learning more about my customers? So yes, we can talk about, and I can share my story and my preferences. However, how can I create conversations that tell me more information about my customer? So I can talk more about what they need, not what I think that they need, because sometimes those things really don't align or match up. So when we talk about kind of what this is, sort of as an overview, so April 7th, as I mentioned, is World Health Day. And we're having the event on the 6th, almost as a pre-celebration to the day. That way, on actual April 7th, you can focus more on pulling from some of the things that Dr. Nugent said in the webinar from the night before, right? And so your job when you are on this webinar is twofold. Write this down. Number one, to bring the people. We're going to talk about how to do that. And number two, to take notes and how can I now take this information and share this with my audience? What are some of the key takeaways here? Are there any statistics that are relevant that are being shared? Is there anything that I think that my followers, my community, my customers would be most excited to learn about? So that is your two main roles there. It is not to become the expert on what Dr. Nugent is presenting. Remember, you are the hostess with the mostest. Your job is to get people there, learn what you need to in order to service them after, right? So that we can lead them into conversations about the product, about the opportunity. And Dr. Nugent's going to be doing that. He's going to be talking about all those different areas that we mentioned, but he's also going to be discussing how does Manatech fit into this. So the day, World Health Day, is celebrated as a means to spread awareness of the importance of human dignity in our lives through self-esteem, physical fitness, and a balanced, healthy lifestyle. To help us make healthier decisions that lead to a healthier lifestyle, our very own Dr. Steve Nugent will be leading the webinar. And so again, he is the top chef in the back, right? So your job is just to get people here to work on the relationship and then to pull the key takeaways that are going to help future conversations. So if you want to go to, not like right this second, but if you want to even just Google World Health Day, it is created by the World Health Organization, and they celebrate it annually. So this is definitely something to put into your calendar for next year, the year after. If you use a digital calendar, you can usually like set a reminder that says repeat annually. So this will always come up. And each year they do draw attention towards a specific health topic of concern to people all over the world. And so you don't necessarily need to follow what they're talking about. So this year they're talking a lot about the planet, environmental concerns, how that is like creating more disease, our farming practices, things like that, right? And so, but we're going to be talking about just globally, where are we at after 2 years of a pandemic, right? We have seen how amazing science is in these areas. We have seen the power of nutrition. We've seen the power of plants and holistic wellness. But we've also seen the inequities within, science and wellness and health, right? That not everyone has equal access to this for a variety of reasons. One just being the knowledge. They don't have the knowledge to understand, what is it that I should be doing or I should be concerned with. And that's where we come in. It's just pointing back towards Dr. Nugent's event, pulling some key takeaways post-event, and really helping to inform and educate our audience on social media, while again focusing on the emotional trigger aspect. How can I make someone feel something from this? And so you can actually see back on all their past events from, I believe, 2014. And so what's cool about that is that you can actually look back at information they've shared over the last 8 years. And so there are different topics that they've focused on over the last 8 years that may feel more relevant to you in what it is you're wanting to discuss with your audience. And so you're able to go here and kind of look back and pull some of, again, those key takeaways. It's not about you learning to know everything and become the expert, but you can take some statistics, you can take some, points from this. It's a really great resource just to sort of have in your back pocket, not only for World Health Day, but just for ongoing. Lots of great information here. Okay, so why is this webinar important for us to attend? Well, number one, just for the knowledge and for, for our own selves, because there's a reason why you are all in Manatech, right? You have your own personal story, but it's also the perfect prospecting opportunity. I apologize again in advance of my coughing the rest of this webinar. So I appreciate it. So I just pulled this from the email, but I thought it was great language, especially the first sentence. In light of what we've all been through the past 2 years, being healthy is more vital than ever. Take advantage of this unique opportunity to present Manatech in a fresh and innovative light to your prospects, customers, and associates. So I highlighted that first sentence because I want it to be language that sticks with you throughout the next week, right? In light of what we've all been through the past 2 years, being healthy is more vital than ever. When you read that sentence, especially the first part, in light of what we've all been through the past 2 years, post in the chat, what are some things that come to mind for you personally when you read this sentence? We are in this together. I love that. So Shirley's really picking up on that sense of community, the use of we. Mary saying isolation is not healthy. Health is important today. Right? And even, kind of building off of Martha being at home more and less active, gaining some pounds. So some things that are coming up, even between those two examples, let's just take the isolation is not healthy and the being at home more, less active, gaining some pounds. That sentence for many of you probably created an emotional response. You're reflecting on your own past 2 years, right? You're thinking, I suffered maybe, yes, with my weight, with my health. I suffered socially, right? Maybe I suffered financially, whatever that is. You're starting to think about the detriments of things that have happened over the last 2 years. So a sentence like this, sharing this online, is starting to create that emotional response from your followers. Versus if I just said, being healthy now is more vital than ever. Come to this exciting event on April 6th. We're just stating health is important, right? That's not going to create an emotional response. It's not going to have somebody reflect necessarily on their own health. It's a statement. That's why I love that in light of what we've all been through, we're acknowledging that things have been tough. We're acknowledging that things have, fell by the wayside, whether that is our health and wellness, whether that is where we are financially, whether that is socially, in our family. A lot of even like married couples struggled throughout isolation, right? And quarantine. So everyone is now thinking about all the different ways and the different things that they have been through. So it's not to create a negative connotation to the conversation, but it's to remind people we've been through a lot. And because of that, we need to come out the other side. We've learned some important things, right? You could say, in light of what we all been through the past 2 years, I think so many of us have realized that being healthy is more vital than ever. I even love that more. So instead of even just saying, looking at this, in light of what we have been through the past 2 years, being healthy is more vital than ever. Versus, I think we can all agree that being healthy is more vital than ever. Or I think we've all come to the conclusion that being healthy is more vital than ever. Why does that language shift become even more impactful? It's similar to what real estate agents do when they're showing a home. They don't say this is the living room, this is the kitchen, the heart of the home. It is your living room, your kitchen. This is where your family is going to make memories. We use language that creates a sense of ownership. Right? And so when you say things like, I think we can all agree, or I know so many of you have thought this, you're putting it back on them, but you're also at the same time complimenting them. You're saying essentially what you've been through in the last 2 years has been horrible. But what's amazing is that you have switched your priority. So whether they have or they haven't in that moment, they're going to read that sentence and go, I am empowered to make a change. You're right. Maybe Martha posted, they think to themselves, you're right, Martha, like my health is most important to me. And I have come to that conclusion. And so you're right. It is time I take action on it. It's important that when we're speaking on social media, that we are talking to our followers like they're actually the experts. They're the ones coming to the conclusions. We're not just making statements that people will just read and pass along. How can I create this emotional response? Kevin says, a body and mind always at rest stays idle. A body and mind in motion gets and stays electrifying. Yes, I love that. Right? And so we need to make sure, even just using that and taking that into a marketing perspective, is what I'm saying, is it creating idleness among my followers, or is it moving them into action? Right? And getting people into motion and into action is getting them to be excited about something. We know people take action when they're excited, when they're angry, right? It doesn't matter what emotion it is. We know that emotion drives change. And so we have to make sure that we're focusing on that. So when you're promoting this event, use some of that languaging. Think about, how can I ask more questions? So we're going to go through some different things that we can do right now to help promote this event and get more people on. Because again, it is about having Dr. Nugent, the expert, speak to this. This is really great that, number one, we don't have to become the expert. Number two, we know that everything that's being said corporately from Manatech is compliant and we're not messing that up ourselves. And then number three, there's going to be people that we come across in business that know us more intimately. And they may think, well, you're not a doctor. Why should I listen to you? And that's when you say, well, don't listen to me. Right? Don't listen to me. I have partnered with experts in the health and wellness industry. This is their role. I want you to come and hear what Dr. Nugent has to say about this. And your job is to be, like I said, that hostess with the mostest. So number one, first thing that you can do on your social media is you can create a Facebook event. Yes, he's going to be talking about how Manatech weaves in with all of those different topics that he's going to be talking about, like stress, immunity, gut health, health trends today. What are we globally concerned about? So he's going to be bringing a lot of information, and again, evoking a lot of that emotion and doing a lot of the selling for us, which is great, especially if you have any new associates in your organization, right? To say, this is a really great opportunity for you to invite people, and you don't even have to do the selling. You don't even have to do the talk about Manatech. They're going to do that for you. Your only job is to follow up, right? And so even thinking about that, if you have someone who's on the fence, say you have a lead who's been kind of wishy-washy about signing up as an associate or not, what a great opportunity to send them a message and say, hey, we have this event. Okay, I know you've been on the fence about joining, or maybe like dragging your feet a little bit. What I want you to do is I want you to come to this event, and I want you to bring 2 guests with you. Right? Because not only are they going to be pushed over the fence, they're going to have 2 potential new customers, or first 2 new associates to bring with them. Right? So it's saying, hey, I know you've been thinking about this. I want you to come to this event, and I want you to bring 2 friends. And then afterwards, interview them, ask them what they think about this. Right? We need social proof sometimes to make action. And so getting people to come to this and use this as a recruiting strategy, very, very important. So number one, to create a Facebook event. This, I will say, is if you are, don't feel like you're super techie or social savvy, this could be a step that you leave out. Okay, and you could do the rest of the next ones. The way that I'm laying this out right now is not like you could do this or this. It's set up as a series of steps in which to take. So number one would be to create a Facebook event. So you can create a Facebook event on your own Facebook and post all the information about the event, including the Zoom link in the event description. Now, the reason why I say to do this is for a few different reasons. One, because we have so much content now on Facebook and on social media in general, we know that it's harder and harder to get people to see what it is that we post. Utilizing an event creates an additional notification for the people that join. So not only are we hoping that, like, I hope that they'll see my post in their news feed. I hope that they'll open the message that I send them, the private message on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. But I also know that if I set this up as an event, that they have the potential to see the event in the news feed, that if they accept to go to the event, they RSVP, they will get notifications from it, and they will get reminders from Facebook that an event is about to start. So it's a really great way to just have essentially a bit of a backup plan, or just that additional layer of reminders for you. So this is why I really love it. You don't have to post a lot of content in there. Really, you can just set up the Facebook event, set the day and the time, which is April 6th, 6 p.m. Central to 7:30. All that information's available to you guys. And just posting like, this is what this is, right? We can take the exact copy that was in the email of, not this page, that was for us. Where did it go? Right here, right? You can put this right in the event description. So Martha said, do we need to do this in a group? I would definitely post it in your group as well, in addition. And we'll talk about that on the next step. But you can create the event either in your group or outside of it. I'll say the benefit of creating it outside of your group, so just creating it from either your business page or your personal page, is that more people are likely to see it. If you create the event only in your Facebook group, only people who are a part of your Facebook group will see it. Does that make sense? And so we're just limiting the exposure. Personally, if I was doing this, I would post it from my personal page. I pulled this from an email that was sent out, Peggy. So I mean, it is right here, and it's on a few other pages. But I had pulled this from an email that was sent out, so I would definitely check there. Okay, so number one, we set up our Facebook event. Like I said, we can post reminders in the group, hey, 5 days left or 3 days left, don't forget to come, but don't overthink. You don't have to teach right now, right? Because who's going to be teaching? Post in the chat. Who's doing the real teaching around this? Oh, thank you, Shirley. Yes, Dr. Nugent, not you. So don't think, well, now I need to go create all this content. Now I need to do all these different things. Your job is just to get people there, right? And so you can just post some reminders to remind people, because people are well-intentioned. Just because you set up an event and they RSVP to the event on Facebook saying, yes, they're coming, absolutely does not mean that they are coming. Because people forget. People are well-intentioned. There are many free events that I sign up for that I have every intention on genuinely wanting to attend to hear the information, and I don't. So when you set up the Facebook event, it will automatically create like an RSVP. It'll give them 3 options. I can attend, I may be going, and I can't attend. And that's a great question, Martha, because people's answers to those questions also give us valuable information that we can use in a follow-up. If someone says they are going, send them a private message that says, hey, I'm so glad that you RSVP'd yes to the event. I can't wait to see you there. What are you hoping to learn? What a great question, because even if Dr. Nugent doesn't touch on their topic, you can make sure you follow up with it. If they say they maybe are going, another great response. Why? Because you get to ask, like, hey, saw that you're maybe going to the event. What's holding you back from making that maybe a yes? Great question. What is holding you back from making that maybe a yes? And they may say, my son has a football game until 6, and so it just depends if I get home in time. And you say, great, why don't I shoot you a message when it's starting? And if you don't get on in time and you're looking for the link, send me a message. You can join late, that's okay. But I can also share the replay with you after if they don't make it on. And people who can't go is typically because of a time conflict. So you'll be able to send them the replay after the fact. So reach out to them. Or they may say, I'm not going because I'm not interested. That's also a win. Why? Great. That's one less person for me to follow up with right now. They can go on your cold lead list of somebody you can reach out into the future, right? But they're not your immediate on your hot list. So when you set up the event, not only is it creating those additional reminders that I mentioned, you're gaining that valuable information from your RSVPs. Thanks for bringing that up, Martha. Someone once told me, just think of what just a half hour less of TV, a day could do for your mind, health, and business. Absolutely. I love when people say they don't have like time, but if you really look at what you do in a day, you can find those pockets of time. You can find those opportunities for growth, right? Okay, so the second thing you're going to do, so you're going to set up your Facebook event. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to market the event. So we're going to do some social media posts, and those can also include Facebook or Instagram stories or Facebook Lives. Okay, they don't have to, just there's the different options of how you want to present the content. We do know that vertical video, so video that people watch in their whole screen on their phone, and you're just talking like this, does the best. If you go on Facebook Live and you hold your phone up in like a portrait mode, views are the highest. The reason why that is if you turn your phone this way, okay, so horizontally to record a live, it will take up your whole screen, right? But if somebody's on Facebook and they're scrolling through and they click it open, what happens? They're holding their phone this way, and it means your video becomes this small on their screen. Talking and shooting vertically means that people will see the video in the largest screen. And because of the way that phones are now being produced, is that they are actually having less and less of a border. So when you're on Facebook, maybe I can even just see, I know it's kind of hard to see on my phone, but let's see if I can just even, wonder if anyone's live on my, there should be like a live button where you can see who's live. That would be great. Well, stories would do this, actually. I can look at that too. So this is someone's story. Someone is watching Bridgerton, the new show. And so they just posted it. So what you can see is there's not really a border on my phone anymore. So what happens is the social media post takes up the entire screen. And the reason why is because social media and tech companies like Apple, Samsung want to be more and more intrusive with their messaging. And so they're like, I don't want, Shirley to watch this video, but still be able to see other things around it. I want her to be fully consumed in this video. So we're going to take up the whole screen. Right? I don't want her to make a decision to move to something else. I want her to stay here. And so when we do a vertical video and we hold our phone this way, chances of engagement, of interaction, of it popping up in the newsfeed and doing better is typically higher. Okay? But not all of us like to do video. So social media posts are also just as okay. So what day are we at? April 2nd. Can't believe we're April already. So we're about 4 days out from the event, 5 days out from the actual day. Now, even though it's coming up, It's okay because now is actually the best time to talk about it as we get closer and closer to the event. So about 2 to 4 days out from the event, so I'd say like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, around there, we want to focus on intrigue questions on our social media, like, is immunity on the top of your health priority list this year? DM me because I have some free tickets to a virtual event on April 6th. So let me tell you what I love about this question. Number one, we're going to do a few different kinds of these. Right here, I'm specifically asking, is immunity on the top of your health and priority list this year? If you don't get any messages from this, don't think, oh, I'm a big loser, I failed. It just may mean, okay, do you know what? Maybe immunity isn't the word that people are most intrigued by that follow me. I'm going to now post this question, but swap out gut health or stress, right? When we talked about before how to do a launch on social media, we talked about how to ask questions to create conversations. A first question could be, what are you most interested in, or what are you most concerned about? I like that better, the word concern. What are you most concerned about when it comes to your health in 2022? Stress, gut health, immunity, fat loss. Those are 4 areas you could focus on and have them comment, right? And you're going to gain some information there. So that's why I like that first question, is we're putting out sort of a bit of that trigger word, right? We could even take the example we used earlier and said, after the 2 years that we've all had, I know for a lot of you, immunity is on the top of your health and priority list, right? It doesn't always have to be a question. You can pose it as a statement. You can be telling them what they actually think. I know it's been hard, and I know that you're interested in immunity. Even if they've never thought about it before, they may go, huh, you're right. I actually am pretty interested in immunity. I'd like to get past this COVID thing and go back to normal. DM me because I have some free tickets to a virtual event on April 6th. Here's why I love this part of the post. So even though we've set up the Facebook event, a few days prior, I prefer to have people message me directly versus posting, hey, I created this event for a free webinar happening on April 6th. What we're telling people is like, go do this yourself, right? Think about it always in terms of if this wasn't on social media. If you had a store, would you say, here, I'm going to open up the door, go take a look at my store and shut the door and then go for coffee with a friend? No, what would you do? You'd go in the store with them. You would walk around, you'd ask them questions. You want to personally help them through the experience. A lot of times on social media, we think because this is just social, that we can just say, hey, here's my business. Take a look around, but I'm going to go for coffee now, or I'm going to go outside and garden. And we don't follow up. They leave. We have no idea, right? We want to be present. We want to be there with them. And that's why I like directing them to direct message me or to private message me so that I can be like that concierge, so that I can have a more personal conversation. And then the second part of this, which Sharon just brought up, is why do you say I have some free tickets to an event that doesn't require tickets? So it's just the Zoom link. But what I love about this is I like not focusing, number one, that it's a Manatech event. The reason being, I would talk more about it being Dr. Nugent versus Manatech, right? Because we want people to come for the information and be emotionally triggered. And so then when the business and the products come up, it makes sense, right? They're more inclined to listen. Some people may go, oh, this is just going to be a business presentation. I don't want to go. We want to focus on the value being the event itself. And I love using the phrase of DM me because I have some free tickets. And then you would just say, hey, here's the direct link to the Zoom. right? There's no ticket that you're sending them. You just go, do you want a spot? Great, here's the Zoom link, right? Because now we're creating this. I also love, I have some free tickets. It creates this sort of exclusivity for people. Well, I want a ticket, right? Sometimes we have to make it seem like things are a bit more like limited edition, exclusive, than just open to everybody. So that's why I love that phrasing. And it really creates some intrigue, right? Oh, there's an event. I'm interested in that. I would love to get in on that. The link to the event is the same link as the Zoom. Absolutely. Yep. You're right. So those are, over the weekend and on Monday, these are some sort of questions that I would put out there, right? You can ask that, what do you, after the 2 years we've had, what are you most concerned about? Gain some information. And then you could try something like this, but swap out, the word immunity for whatever one you want. Okay, just to start to create some interest. You can post it multiple times, but with different focuses. Okay, so the day before the event, so this is now on Tuesday, you can start moving people directly just to your event. So I would post to my social media the event that you set up on Facebook. You can just take the URL at the top to share the event. Hey everyone, I have an exciting event that I am, partnered with on tomorrow. Would love for you to come check it out. Look at the event here. The event will have some information, right, about what's going to be talked about, things like that. As we get closer to, we want to talk more about, here's the event, here's the link, versus over the weekend asking more questions to gain more insight. Because as we get closer, we're not going to spend as much time convincing people why they should be coming. We're just going to tell them to come. Especially the day of. Okay, hey, the event's tonight. Here's the link to the event. However, the hour before and at the time of the event, just post the Zoom link directly to your social media. At this point, I wouldn't even lead people to the event. Why? Because I don't want them to go to my event page. I want them to show up to the Zoom. I want them to be right on the webinar. So over this weekend, I'm not even necessarily posting the link to my event that I set up. I am just saying to them, hey, send me a message. Kevin said, I think if you mention free tickets, it still gives something of value and makes the potential feel special. Yes. Being talked to instead of talked at. Absolutely. And it's this invitation. And like you said, the value is in the invite. If they just know oh, here's a Zoom link and I can click this next week, it takes away a lot of that, like Kevin said, making them feel special, like they've received something. That initial value is, I just got a free ticket from Kevin for this event. And so we don't need to post the link because we actually want to be having those one-on-one conversations. That's the real value, right? Because our goal isn't necessarily to get as many people as possible. Our goal is to create as many customers and associates as possible. And so we want to be in conversation with people. So the day right before the event, the reason why I'm saying to post the link to the Zoom is that an hour before and at the time of, you do not want to send people on a wild goose chase to find this Zoom link. If you say, hey, go to my Facebook event, they're now going there and then they are having to look at the event and find a Zoom link. Let's say, for example, right now for this event, Martha messaged me and said, hey, I really want to come to your social training. What would be better for you, Martha, if I sent you the link to the Zoom, or if I said, oh, go look at the Manatech North America group and you can find the Zoom link in there? The first one is, girl, give me the link. I want to come now. Because guess what? If I send Martha just to the group, what could happen? Martha may not be able to find it. the extra steps, she may get distracted on her way there and never actually show up. She might get lost. Exactly. And so we want to just be like, here's the link. So that hour before the start time is not the time to convince people or send them on a journey to go find it. Even if we would love to have them in the event, the goal is to get them on the Zoom, right? But prior to that, why do we send them to the event and to the to message us? Because we want to keep track of our influence. If I only post the Zoom the entire time, what happens? People may show up, but will I ever know if they did or not? I can post a Zoom, and let's say I had a personal conversation with Kevin. Okay, and so I know Kevin's coming. We've been talking about it the last few days. I actually know exactly what Kevin's interested in hearing. My chances of getting Kevin to make a decision on a product or the opportunity is higher because I've been developing a closer relationship with him and I'm catering the experience to him. So in further out, we want to have more time to have a conversation. Now, let's say I'm the day before the event or 2 days before, and I send Martha to the Facebook event, right? Because over the last few days, Martha hasn't sent me a DM. So I'm going to say, go to the event. Martha may not want to talk to me about the event, but now that I've posted it, she's going, I'm going to go check this out. And Martha clicks that she is maybe going or that she's going to go. At least now I know that Martha is interested in going. So she has been flagged to me now as somebody to follow up with. But let's just say I post just the Zoom link and that's what Sharon sees. And the day of, because I posted the Zoom link, Sharon never had to send me a message for it. She never went to my Facebook event because she didn't need to find the Zoom link. So Sharon goes to the Zoom. Will I know 100% if Sharon's there or not? No, I didn't even know she saw my post. But I know that I talked to Kevin and I know that Martha clicked yes to going to my event. So I have identified 2 leads for me to follow up with. But I don't know that I have even Sharon there. So that's why do we understand what I'm saying? Why prior to the event, we want to create almost that extra obstacle for them where they have to interact with us so that we know that we're identifying a lead. But when we're at the event, when we're an hour out, when we are, at that time, I rather just, if the option is I get no one else on or I get some other people on, and I just hope that Sharon finds it interesting enough that she sends me a message. I can also post after the event who showed up to the event last night with me. Right? And so then maybe that will make Sharon go, oh, I actually was there. I clicked on the Zoom and I joined. Great. Now I've identified that Sharon's there. So is this making sense so far as to why I'm saying to lay it out this way and how those different interactions will develop? Amazing. So the next part in this, your job is to follow up, right? It's to have those messages. Follow up with everyone who messages you. Find out, like I mentioned, their biggest concern for 2022 and 2023. And you can remind them of this in future reminders you send to them. So for example, say I post, is immunity a big concern for you in 2022? If so, I have some free tickets to an event that may interest you on Wednesday. Kevin sends me a message. Okay. And so I'm talking to Kevin. He's telling me, and I say, oh, Kevin, like, what about immunity, concerns you? And he shares his personal story with me. Amazing. Why is that important for me? Not only, obviously, am I able to see where Kevin's head is at, and I can make better recommendations for products, right? When I'm following up with Kevin to get on the event, hey, Kevin, the event starts in 1 hour. I wanted to remind you because I know how important immunity is to you and your family this year after what you experienced. We're able to talk specifically to what they said, which creates a stronger emotional trigger, which creates action. So ask them these questions. And reach out personally also to your customers and your lead list. And so even though we're doing things, the steps prior, like creating an event and marketing on social media, do not rely solely on your social media posts to do the work for you. You can't go, well, I posted it, everyone should know about it. Great example of today when Peggy said, hey, was there, she posted in the chat, was there a training last week? And we're like, oh no, we posted it a few times in the group. Does that mean anything to somebody? No, because not everyone is going to see every single post, right? And so make sure that you are also personally inviting people. You can reach out to your current customers. Hey, I have some free tickets for an upcoming event. It's World Health Day on April 7th. And there's an event on the 6th at 6 p.m. Central Time. And Dr. Steve Nugent, who is an expert in the field, is going to be talking about, X, Y, and Z. He's going to be talking about global health trends, things we need to concern ourselves with in 2022. And he's going to actually be offering some solutions. Can I count you in? So again, even though we're marketing, still send messages. And then remind. Your job is not done at the first yes. Because remember, people are well-intentioned. People think like in the moment, yes, I want to do that. So what you can do is you can ask them, number one, I love this, if they want a text reminder. So if you're like a texter at all, because maybe they don't check their Facebook all that often. I'd rather have somebody's phone number than just them on Facebook. Right? So you can ask them like, hey, I can text you actually the day of the event if you want a reminder to hop on. Sure, I would love that. But you want to remind them at least 3 different times once you've gotten a yes from them. Number one is the day before, where you could say something like, I used Shirley's name as an example. Hey, Shirley, just wanted to remind you about our free health event tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time. Here is the link to join. I know last time we talked, you had mentioned how important gut health was to you and your family this year. So don't forget to join live. That's an example of something I would send a day before. I'm giving them the Zoom link that they can come back to. I'm saying, I want to remind you, I'm being of service, and I'm reminding them what they told me was important to them. Okay, so it's a bit longer of a message. But as we get closer to the event, our messages are going to get shorter and shorter. An example of what we can post an hour before. Hey, Shirley, event starts in 1 hour. Post a link. Can't wait to see you there. Feel free to DM me throughout the event if you have any questions. Another great example. Short and to the point, and we're telling her, hey, I'm here to support you throughout it. And I love the can't wait to see you there, because that is a little persuasion, right? I remember a leader when I was in the field, one of my very first events that I was helping to host, I had a leader in my organization mentoring me. And she said, Lindsay, the best way to get people to show up to your event, 2 different things. Best one is give them a job to do at it, because they got to come. Like, hey, can you bring the ice? Well, I guess now I'm going. So I'm bringing the ice. And number 2, I can't wait to see you. That reminds people, one, oh, this person's looking forward to seeing me. I'm more inclined to go. But sometimes it's also like, oh, shoot, they're going to know if I'm there or not. So I better go. I'll make an appearance. Sometimes these things happen, right? And so saying something like that, can't wait to see you. Feel free to send me a message throughout the event if you have any questions. Now, the reason why I love that we also have the Facebook event set up is that during the event and after, you may also post in there, what's the biggest takeaway for you so far in the event? Do you have any questions? Because now we know we at least have a space where people have said yes or no or maybe to going to the event. And it's a place where we can post questions about it. It's also the place we can post the replay after the fact. And then at the time of the event, a reminder you may send to somebody you chatted with. Woo, let's go. Here's the link. That's it. Because we just want them like, oh my gosh, it starts right now. Click the link. Let's go. So these are a few different examples of how we could reach out and remind somebody. And what I'll do is I will, right after this, I'll just download this as a PDF and I can post it in the Manatech North America group. And then I'll link it under the Facebook Live in there. And I'll get Ben like to post it on the site as well. But I'll put this in here just so you guys can use a language so you don't have to go back through like the training and try to just watch the video. All right, so I know we're just wrapping up. We're a few minutes over, I apologize. But just as a reminder, what is my goal? It is not to make your event or social media posts go viral. It's to find leads to bring to your event. So the reason why I say that is don't get so wrapped up in how can I post the best content? Because remember, who's teaching? Dr. Nugent, not us. Our job is not to get to be excited that we got 30 likes on a social media post. I don't care if you get 30 likes. I don't care if you get 300, and I don't care if you get 0. My question to you will be, but how many people did you bring? And then once that happens, it'll be great. Now, how many people did you close? So next week, we'll talk about how to close people that came to the event. We'll talk about, people who were there that haven't made a decision yet on Manatech. What are some things that we can now do with them? Right? And then I'll answer your question. Oh, I love that, Martha. That's great. I love that. Okay, because that caught my attention right away. I'm totally going to do that for events. That's awesome. Some language reminders, saying things like free tickets, rely on Dr. Nugent, overusing the word Manatech. So people don't necessarily just think this is going to be about products. It's not just about products, right? There's a lot of information being shared. Focus on the immediate benefit for them by attending the event, right? So like the free ticket, there's that value, what you're going to learn at the event. We're relying on their emotional triggers, and share your story, right? A big part of creating interest is saying, I'm really excited for this event and I have some free tickets. And here's why it's important to me. If you're not getting a lot of people sharing with you what their interest is, share your story, because your story will create vulnerability and also makes people emotionally triggered because they think about their own stories, right? Share stories over abstract facts. Your job is to be the relationship expert. That is your job, to cultivate that and invite people to the event. So Martha, you have a question, my friend.
Yes, and thank you for all this great information. So Manatech has provided, I'm pretty sure, something for us to share with others about this event. Now, one thing I'm looking at now, it's got the Zoom link. So do we not share that until maybe the day before and the day of the event because it has the Zoom link?
So I would post the Zoom link in your Facebook event. So anyone who goes there, they know that there's the link, because we know that once they're there, they're going to RSVP, so we at least have them. And anyone you talk to in a direct message, send them the link right away. Here's the Zoom for it. Like, hey, I'm interested in this event. Great. Here's how you get on. Here's the Zoom link. And then you can ask some of those questions and then keep reminding with it. We're just not going to post it publicly as our only means of getting them to take an action, right? Because the actions we really want them to take is to send us a message or to let us know that they're going. So we know now who to follow up with. And people will usually only do like one action. And so if you give up the Zoom link in a public social media post, they have no reason to send you a message because they're like, oh, I'll just go back and find that Zoom link later. But in the private message, absolutely you can send it. So if you sent me a message saying, hey, Lindsay, I'm interested about this event that you just posted about, I would say, great, Martha, here's the Zoom link for it. Save that, but I'll send you a reminder. what are you most interested to learn about this event?
So we can use some of the wording, I guess, that Manatech has in their announcement of it and just omit the link until later.
Yes, absolutely. Great question. And I love that, Mark. Did you guys see what Martha had held up when she had a question?
Well, this is for Manatech. Manatech created that and this.
I love the question one so much. So much. And you should use those too, guys, like when you're doing Facebook Lives. Like if you were, like, say you were presenting something and you're like, okay, who has questions? And just like hold that up, or to say, put yes in the chat. I love those. I think that visually they like will catch people, because I saw your hand go up and I was like, okay, Martha has a question. And I was like, I'll ask her right after I finish this thought. But then when you put that sign up, it totally drew my attention right over. And so that's great to have on social media. And I love the prompt too, even if not if you're just the attendee, but if you're also the presenter, posting some of those things up so people want to follow instructions, right? Remember that people want to follow instructions. And so if you emotionally connect with them and then give them steps to do, they'll do them.
I don't know if you saw what I posted a while ago, that I have ordered the True Health Fat Loss System. And so I'm posting about that and connecting it with the World Health thing to see who wants to join me in that, and also losing pounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if that's like a major concern coming out of pandemic, which it is for so many people. You know, they had less exercise, they ordered food more often. They weren't cooking, maybe they had less access to produce, fruits and vegetables because they were isolated at home. And so those are all great things. And again, that's something that you're currently doing. So tying in something that your own personal story or a product that you're using is always great, because like I said a few weeks ago, you don't want to go, say Martha's doing the fat loss, like the True Health System. It's just easier for her to share what she's going through right now and what she does every day versus going, okay, now I need to also make sure I go learn about hormones, because, you know, it's just share what you're using, share what you're going through. Sound good?
Do one day of announcing. Tomorrow I'm going to announce something really exciting I'm doing that you might want to be involved in.
Love it. Yay.
Products arrive, show them. Of course, it's all going to say Manatech. I guess I could hold it up, the containers, in such a way they don't see the word Manatech, but most people know I'm in Manatech anyway.
Yeah. But I even love, like, you could take a little selfie holding up that question mark and be like, I have something really exciting coming. Can you guess what it is? And I just love it. I think it's so intriguing. And I love those things. Martha, you're so great at that. You wore like the Santa hat before, and it pulls people's attention, because sometimes it's not about necessarily like, can I make the best content or say the best thing? It's how can I initially grab someone's attention while they're just aimlessly scrolling on Facebook? And just something little like that can make people go, what is that? Or what is she doing? Or what is he doing? And immediately pull their attention in. So I love that. Thank you guys so much for letting me go over as per usual. But I wanted to make sure you guys got all of the necessary things. I'm going to download that as a PDF right now and post it into the Manatech North America group for all of you, so that you can look at the slides and look at the languaging there. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Saturday, and I will see you guys on Wednesday evening with all your leads and your friends there. Bye, everyone. Oh, thanks, Diane.